guide us in every direction. That's why God gives us his word. The Bible is the word of God. And it says in Isaiah 40:8, the grass withers, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. Matthew 5:18 says, for verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or tittle or one tittle shall in no way pass from the law till all is fulfilled. God's word is God's word. Do you know that God's word is food for your soul? Psalms 119 and 103 says, how sweet are thy words unto my taste, yea, sweeter than honey to my mouth. Jeremiah 15:16 says, thy words were found, and I did eat them, and thy word was unto me the joy and rejoicing of my heart. For I am called by thy name, O Lord God of hosts. Oh my God. David said, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. The Lord is good, and he is worthy to be praised. His word, he wants his word to be in our heart, that we won't sin against him. So maybe we need to start to have a prayer checklist. Maybe we need to start to pray and have a prayer journal, and just start writing people's name in it for us to pray for us to start praying for your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your aunt, your uncles, your cousins, your nieces, your nephews, your grandparents. But remember, there's a way out of your mess. JESUS.
Where can you buy a brand new Nissan with a lifetime warranty? Kingston Pike. Hey, folks, Gerald Anderson with Ted Russell Nissan. You heard it right. Every new Ted Russell Nissan comes with a lifetime warranty, and that's a long, long time. Ted Russell Nissan on Kingston Pike.
Good morning and welcome to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Ask Your Neighbor can also be heard and seen on our website, WYSHradio.com. And if you are in Anderson, Roane, or Morgan County and have Comcast cable, you can watch Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV Channel 12. Ask Your Neighbor is the program where you call in and do just that. Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a comment? Do you have a problem? Or do you have a question? Then call in and ask your neighbor. 865-457-1380 or toll free at 877-711-4005. And for those of you that might be listening or watching on the internet, you can email from our website, WYSHradio.com. Just click on the Contact Us button and email your questions. Now sit back and listen as listeners throughout East Tennessee and the entire world answer your questions on Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV 12 and AM 1380 WYSH.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome into Tuesday edition of Ask Your Neighbor. The 29th day of April. Well, it's not the scheduled time for Stephanie to come in. Last Tuesday was, but we double booked, and she was gracious enough to postpone a week for us. Good morning, Stephanie. How are you, man?
Good morning, Ron. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's pretty outside. The weather's kind of changing.
Yes,
I guess
beautiful.
Things are getting busy on your end of life.
Absolutely.
What's going on? What do we have going on in the way of tourism and all the exciting events happening here in the area?
Well, I'll kind of backtrack just a little bit. We had some great events last weekend, and
Pause for the Cause. I know that was great.
Windrock had their event. We had a mountain bike event up at Norris Dam State Park and the Norris Watershed, and I helped organize that event. And so I just want to say, for anybody out there that does events, thank you. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of manpower. You plan, it's like a wedding. You plan for months, and then inevitably something that day just crazy happens, like the weather.
Yes.
So, for those people out there that continue to put on these events, it's a lot of work, and we really appreciate it.
Certainly.
There's a lot of economic impact that, that comes from these events. I know with our mountain bike event, we limit it to 200 people, but we had a lot of people from out of town. We had a lot of people from Knoxville that came up. We had a lot of people this year that had never been on the trails.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was exciting, and that was the reason we do it, is to expose people to what we have here in Anderson County. So
Well, I got a call from one of our listeners who had family in town that rode and had their bikes and wanted to know if they could sign up or whatever. And I was like, yeah. So we gave them the information. Hopefully
Awesome.
They came. So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Yes. So again, I mean, the pause were the calls. Windrock had their Yamaha event last weekend, and I mean, it's just there's a lot going on. I mean, if I stopped to name all of it, there was just a lot going on.
Yes.
So so be sure, if you didn't have anything to do last weekend, and you're like, well, I didn't know about that, be sure to go to our website. I'll say that up front, adventureanderson.com. Look at our event page. Everything is listed there. And if you have any questions about anything, let us know.
Good.
So.
I tried to check that too.
Mhm.
And if there's something we don't have that's of a community event nature, I try to put it on our bulletin board too, just to
Appreciate
kind of double check or put it
Yes.
on our website as well. So
Absolutely.
well, that's cool.
So there's so many ways to get information now, but still things slip through the cracks, and we're just so bombarded with
Yes.
things too. So
It's amazing the way we do have so many different ways to get information, and yet still there's people out there that don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, we can push a button and put it on their phone these days, but we still can't seem to get to everybody. But we try.
Yes, it's better, but not perfect. So, but a big event coming up this weekend is the Clinch River Spring Antique Festival.
Yes.
So that's Friday and Saturday, and it's going to look a little bit different this year with the construction on Market Street, but it's, I think it's going to be still the same great event. We have more antique dealers than last time. Everything, food vendors, all the great stuff. And all the stores will be open. So Friday night's a really good time for people to come by and get into the stores and do those kind of things. So
Catherine was up here, talked about the Mosaic Festival a little bit before that, and we kind of touched on this.
Yes.
And that it would have a little bit of a different feel, but
Yes.
all systems go.
Yes.
We were going forward, so that's good.
Yep. So be sure to look around. I mean, we are going to be on Market Street and Main Street, and then we have several restaurants open now.
Yes.
Happy Hostess, Hammocks, I believe, is going to be open. The food trucks will be there. So you may have to watch your step, but we're going to have a great festival.
It's construction, but it's gonna be for. I think everybody will be very pleased with the final product.
Absolutely.
When it's done.
Absolutely. So also this weekend, Friday, is the sheep shearing at the Museum of Appalachia. If you have it's great for adults, but if you have children, it's a great event for them also. It'll be May 2nd and 9th. And if you've never been, they will be shearing sheep. And I think we've talked about this before. I love the herders that are there, the dogs that are there herding the sheep. They take it from the sheep all the way to the clothing. So there'll be people there that'll be preparing the wool. There'll be people there weaving it and showing some products that are made from it. So it's a really cool event for, again, that's not something that was a very common occurrence, 100 years ago, but
not today.
It's not something that happens that much anymore on this level. No. So be sure to check that out. Again, if you have little ones, they just don't quite understand the process of how all that gets made. So
they just think they go take it off the shelf somewhere.
Exactly. Pick it up at the Walmart, the mall, or wherever. So be sure to check that out. And then also the porch series at Windrock. They'll have live music at their general store or their porch on the back, starting in May, running all the way through October. And there is a calendar on their website that you can check out that'll tell you who the entertainers are.
Gotcha.
So,
do you happen to know their website?
It just should be windrockpark.com.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yes. So, and they have a lot going on. They have their Jeep Jamboree this weekend. If you're a Jeep rider, and maybe you want to get a little bit more familiar with the trails, they have guided rides. They have dinners. It's, a great way to connect with other people
That one a four-wheel.
That are Jeep riders.
There you go.
So they're this weekend is that event.
All of this is within just a number of a half hour from where we're sitting right now.
Absolutely.
Everything we've said,
yes,
or less.
Yes.
So.
Yep. Windrock Park, the bike park, will have their downhill southeast race May 16th through the 18th, and we say in Anderson County you have mild to wild trails. You can ride along, paved, or you can go all the way to this downhill. Crazy. I don't understand why anybody. I mean, it's hard to walk down,
much less
that
ride
hill,
a bike.
let alone get on a bicycle and ride it down. But that race will be this weekend, or I'm sorry, May 16th through the 18th.
Okay.
So, and they have another Toyota Land Cruiser. They call it the Great Smoky Mountain Trail Ride. That will be June the 12th through the 14th. So that's also at Windrock Park.
Okay. Yeah, some of your marinas are opening here. I know that this weekend, I know Indian River's opening up in Campbell County. Mm-hmm. So we got some of our marinas opening here over the next few weeks too, don't we? I mean, I don't know if they're opening partially right now, but they'll be open full swing here through the month of May, getting all that started off on the lake too.
Oh, absolutely. And paddling is huge right now, too. Well, so we've got a lot of places along the Clinch River that you can put in and take out. And I always tell people, check the release schedules, especially if you plan on paddling upriver. You don't want to do that when the water is releasing. I mean, you can try it, but I don't recommend it.
It's fighting against the current.
Exactly. So, but there is a guide service also too that will pick you up and take you back to your vehicle. So that information is on our website too. So that's a gentleman out of Rocky Top that's started that business last year. So that's something that's definitely needed in this area.
Okay, that's cool. Aspire, you can put in at Aspire too and paddle from there too. In non-motorized,
Yes, non-motorized. The thing that everybody's like, well, it's just I said you can take out at Lakefront Park, and everybody's like, oh, well, that's just right there. You're not paddling very far, but no, you're going up around the peninsula of the park and the industrial park and coming back down. So be sure before you start your paddle, be sure to look at your map and know where you're going. It is all just the same river, but just be sure you know
that's
what's
a good
involved.
Little piece.
It is.
Especially if you're paddling.
It is. I had a gentleman from our church call me one day and say, how long do you think it would take me to float in an inner tube from the Weir Dam down to Second Baptist Church?
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know, because I've never done it floating. I said, we've done it in a boat.
Yeah.
I said, but I've never done it floating. And later that day, he called me back and he said 8 hours. It took us 8 hours.
Just float.
Just to float in a tube. And he said, I would not recommend it because it's very cold. He said, we were a little bit numb by the time we got there. So
I've went up by where it was obviously before Aspire Park, but I've taken, when I lived at 502 Riverside, I've taken the boat up there, and then we could go, and you could just turn the boat off.
Yes.
And then float back home. You know what I mean? Float back down to the dock that we had at our house. I can't remember how long it took, but going up, you'll be against the current. Coming back, it'd be easy.
Yes. Yep. But take all the precautions.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure you know where you're going, that you've got what you need, and wear your life jacket.
Yes.
So where do you do that? So, the other thing, the Oak Ridge Memorial Day is coming up, and the Oak Ridge Community Band will have their Memorial Day concert at AK Bissell Park. That is actually this Sunday, May the 25th at 7 p.m.
Okay.
So that's a nice, bring your chair. It's free. Sit out on the lawn. Enjoy that evening. And if you have family in town, be sure to bring them. That's something like we were talking about before. A lot of times people call us when they have family in town and ask us what they can do. So be sure to check that out.
Good.
So, and then going into June, the Museum of Appalachia will have their barn dance on June the 13th. And I mentioned this is not really a tourist event, but I mentioned this because it is a fundraiser for the museum. And, I've said this before, our museums are all nonprofits.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And they really struggle. There's not a lot of grants out there for brick and mortar projects. There's not a lot of grants out there for personnel, for employees.
Sure.
They always put them out for are programs, and you're thinking, well, how are we going to do this program
Without
if we don't have an
somebody to do it?
employee
Yeah.
or a building to do it in or a facility? So these nonprofits, and every one of our museums are a nonprofit. They depend a lot on these fundraisers.
Yeah.
So, if you get a chance, participate. All of our museums have a membership program. So if you'd like to be, there's some benefits to that too. But if you'd like to be a member of any of our museums, they all have a membership program.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's another way that you can support the museums. And, if you haven't been to our museums, they all are really good. I always say a museum is all about the story.
Sure.
And each one of them tell a phenomenal story.
Exactly.
So, I think any of them that you go to, from our smallest to our largest, if you walk through, you'll be impressed.
How many do we have? We got Coal Creek.
We've got
Museum of Appalachia.
Green McAdoo.
Green McAdoo, I still say Atomic Energy.
Yep, American Museum of Science and Energy. Children's Museum in Oak Ridge, which houses the national park.
Okay.
And we also have the Oak Ridge Museum with the historic preservation in Oak Ridge.
Is that like the K25? Is that the one?
No, then there's the K25. That's partnered with AMZ. I know I'm going to miss one, Ron.
Well, I'm trying. Well, you're up to 7 now.
The Oak Ridge History Museum is in the Wildcat Den.
Well, now we got 8.
And that's specifically about the Oak Ridge. And then Oliver Springs also has a museum. And Norris has a museum.
So we've got 10 museums in Anderson County. Mm-hmm. I wonder how many.
And I know I've missed
curious.
One. Don't hate me out there.
Well, if we did miss one, somebody text me and tell me, because I wonder how many other counties in Tennessee.
Well, and like I said, the stories that go with them, and I always think about, the Coal Miners Museum, and think about the Coal Creek, thinking about the Fredericksburg mine disaster that killed all but 2 people in the community. And so you have a woman who survived that lost her father, her husband, and her child, and probably her brother and some cousins, all in the same disaster.
Well, I see my Aunt Vonette, and I didn't know this till way, way past. Her first husband died in that mine accident.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't even know she had a first husband, because they were very, very young.
Right.
My Uncle Walter's all I ever knew, and both of them are passed away now. And I think it was even after she had passed away. I was talking to someone in our family, and they said, her first husband died in that mining accident.
Yeah. Well, and you had itinerant miners that left to go work in the mines and died, and they were never able to identify them, and so their parents never know what happened to them. Never knew what happened to them. So, and I think I've told this story before too. So they were buried. And just had a fieldstone as their memorial. Well, there was a gentleman that lived up there. It was in his backyard, and he got tired of mowing around it. So I don't blame him, but he took them all up. He marked where they went. He knew where they mapped it out and everything, but he took them all up. Well, he got feeling guilty about it. And he was like, this is the only thing that marks their graves. Their parents never knew what even happened to them, or their family never knew. And so he went several years later and put every one of them back. He said, I just couldn't do it. He said, it weighed on me. He said, I'll mow around them. He said, but it really bothered me. So, there's just different stories like that. And again, the museum, it's 2 buildings. We just finished the upstairs that they'll be moving into, but the story, the Coal Creek War. My son is learning about that, and he come home and he's like, Mom, we're studying the Coal Creek War, and he's a junior in high school, and he's like, I know all about it.
Do our schools take the kids to these museums?
Yes, I think yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Good. That's good.
So,
with 10 of them.
That was one of the things that Barry Thacker worked on, is to get that into the curriculum. So because it was very vital in ending the Coal Creek, ending the convict lease system.
Absolutely.
So which was just basically just another form of slavery.
Yeah, it was slave labor. We would take these convicts, and then they would go and they would dig coal, which prohibited our economy, because the coal owners didn't have to pay for that.
Exactly. Well, and they put a lot of people out of work too.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then when they stopped the convict lease system, they built Brushy Mountain.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes. And so they operated a coal mine out of that prison. So you would have the inmates that would work 12 hours during the day. They would come in and use that bed, use that cell, and the inmate that was in there would go out to work 12 hours through the night.
So it was 24-hour coal
mine. So they
mine.
were sharing. There was a 24-hour coal mine.
Where was the Brushy Mountain?
It was just right up the mountain from where the prison is.
Well,
so they would take them out and they'd work them for 12 hours, and then they would come back and they would swap, and the other inmate would go out and work for 12 hours.
That's not in the county, but that's kind of a museum now, too, the Brushy Mountain State
Well, I always
Prison.
say you have to go through Anderson County to get to it.
That's true. You do.
So, but that links to that history, and that ties in, that was the whole reason it was built there. So, and then I remember when
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. And I remember when they were, you always follow money. I remember when they were going to close it, when they were talking about closing it,
I remember that.
the Scott County petitioned to get a new one because that was their jobs.
Oh,
They're like, majority of the people that in Scott County that work in Scott County worked at the prison. And so they petitioned very hard to get the new one built there, and they did.
And it's not that far. I know we've done we're the sponsor of the concerts out there. They're summer series concerts. And the first one I went to, I was thinking, well, I need to leave this. It's about 40 minutes.
It's not,
it's not bad at all.
It's a beautiful drive.
It is a beautiful drive.
If you don't have anything to do on a Saturday, go up 116, which they call the Devil's Triangle. Take a ride up there. You'll come right out at it.
Yeah.
And take the tour. They're open. They have a new restaurant, I believe. It's I think their main dish is pizza.
Warden's Table. They've got the Warden's Table. That one's been there. But.
Yes, but they have another one, and it's got a cute name too, and I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I think they do pizza mainly. So.
Wow.
But yeah, it's good food.
Very good.
We have some family from Middle Tennessee. I've taken them up there. We've been a couple of times. So, because you almost every time, they do have former inmates and former guards there to kind of guide you around and talk to you about it. And every time you hear a different story.
I met one of the former inmates when we were up there for the Kip Moore concert. And, it was just very interesting. I didn't take a tour or anything. We were just standing out in the yard. He was like, "Oh yeah, I was in that building right there," and he told us all about it. It was extremely interesting.
Yep.
Now we got lots of fun stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I don't remember where I left off. I think we talked about nonprofits.
Yes, we were on the museums and supporting them with the sheep shearing or whatever. They're all nonprofit.
Yep. So June the 14th is market night, the first market night in historic downtown Clinton.
Okay.
And this is where the shops stay open late, 5 to 8. There'll be food trucks. There'll be some vendors on the street. So again, it's kind of like the Antique Festival, just scaled down just a little bit.
Didn't we do is this like the Friday night and is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
And so there's some different types of vendors versus just antique vendors. So.
Okay.
And then we have the 43rd Smoky Mountain Antique Engine and Tractor Show. It will be June the 13th and the 14th at Anderson County High School. So,
okay, June the 14th. What is it?
June 13th and 14th.
I did not know about that. Okay.
So they have that up there every year. Big tractor show. There'll be a raffle and auction, antique cars. There is a semi-country light show on Friday night. So that's the big semis. And then
that's cool.
Yep, food, craft vendors, all those kind of things. So.
And is that free to the public, or is there?
I'm looking at my notes. I'm going to say yes, but I don't have anything on our website that says that there is an entry fee.
Okay.
So.
Cool.
I will let you know if I hear different.
Okay.
If I find out different, I will definitely let you know.
I'll dig it up too. Now that I know about it.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
I'll put it on our
there
bulletin
that's
board.
Not. So
that's always cool.
And then June 19th is the Juneteenth celebration at Green McAdoo.
Okay.
So there will be live entertainment, bingo, food, all those great things. So I'm not sure that if this is taking the place of their jazz event for June.
It is. I got an email from them the other day. They're not going to do Jazz on the Hill this year. And I'm not sure exactly why, but yeah, this will kind of take the place of that right now. So
there
you go. That's a lot. I mean, we've just got I say this a lot. It sounds like a broken record, but we do have a lot going on. And every month that you come, there's more. You know, and every year it seems like we add more and more and more to it. So that's pretty cool.
Well, I got two more on the list. June the 21st is the Lavender Festival in Oak Ridge.
Okay.
And that is something that they've also expanded to. So there will be, you know what? I've got two different dates there. Hold on. Let me look that up just a second, and then we'll go back to it. But basically, there is also a Friday night event.
Okay.
And that is a ticketed event. I believe it involves a wine tasting. So that's something.
Okay. Do they have like a marked road trail or something for that now? I thought I saw something there recently that was marked, and I knew it wasn't part of the, I knew it wasn't the event going on. You know, like you still see the dogwood flowers when on the dogwood arch.
Yeah.
Looked like they had something marked for that. I didn't know if they did or not. They had
I haven't heard that one.
Okay.
But it is the 21st. In my description, I have the 14th, but it is June the 21st.
Gotcha.
So, and then that Friday night, they'll have, like I said, they'll have a ticketed event. They have an herb lunch, tour of gardens. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yes.
So, and that is Friday and Saturday.
Got it.
So, and then Sunday, they have what they're calling Science on Tap. And I believe that they are partnering with the American Museum of Science and Energy to talk about, like fermentation and different things.
With lavender?
With lavender.
Okay. You can ferment lavender?
Fermented foods. Mm-hmm.
When I think of fermented foods, I think of grapes into wine.
Yes.
When I think of fermented lavender, I don't know what to think about.
Lavender, but
maybe it's just fermented things. Okay, interesting.
Fermentation fair. So you need to go and find out.
Fermented potatoes. I think you can make vodka out of that. I don't know.
I think that's what you do. Yeah.
Science interesting.
Just goes right over my head. So
likewise.
So, and then also in Oak Ridge, June the 6th and the 7th is the Flatwater Tales Storytelling Festival.
Okay. Now, what is that?
That is at Grove Theater. So it's similar to what they do in Jonesboro, where they have the storytellers come in and tell stories. Yeah, pretty much.
Didn't they used to do that? I think we used to have something like that up in Norris in the park a long time ago. I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember.
So, but this is so they
they're
just basically have
award-winning storytellers.
Gotcha. Okay.
And funny, you'll laugh.
Cool.
So folk tales, historical narratives, just
all
kinds of different stories.
And art that is not as prevalent as it used to be. Huh? Cool stuff. There's a lot going on. I mean, there's tons of things going on for folks to get out and see, and all of it hopefully brings revenue into the county.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
How often do you guys look at reassess like the revenue coming in? How often do you guys do that?
Well, there's several different ways that we do it. So we can track hotel motel tax. That is one indicator for us. Annually, the state gives us a report on economic development. And then we now have a program called Placer, where we can go in and look at visitor spending across all different categories of lodging, gas, food, beverage, retail, as it relates to tourism. We can look at our visitor numbers and try to correlate that, someone that spends the night typically spends $100. No, it's more than that. It's $100 a day, and I think it's like $250 for if they stay overnight.
Gotcha.
Per person per day. So if you have a family of 4, that goes up. So we look at all kinds of different indicators, but we rely a lot on the state numbers, and they have a third-party organization that puts those numbers together, but they also look at them in relation to the state revenue department.
When Jamie was here last week, when the law director here, one of the things I was asking him is, his involvement in some of the things the commission did. And one of the things that we talked about was they changed the occupancy taxes, didn't they?
Yes.
How did that,
yes.
Did it lower? We lowered a penny?
We lowered a penny.
And how does that work?
Okay, so let's start from scratch.
Okay.
So previously, the state law would not allow cities and counties to tax on top of each other.
Gotcha.
So years ago, pre-1990, Rocky Top and Oak Ridge put in their hotel motel tax of 5%. So then the county came along and put it in everywhere else.
Gotcha.
So that excluded Oak Ridge and that excluded Rocky Top. But it was 5% across the board.
So everybody
in
was,
Anderson County.
Yeah.
But it just, because of the law, it went to different places.
Gotcha.
So Anderson County took their portion, City of Oak Ridge took their portion, and the City of Rocky Top took their portion.
Gotcha. I thought Clinton had okay.
Yes, so I'm getting there.
Okay.
So probably early 2000s, the City of Clinton, because they are a home rule community, a home rule city, and I'm not sure what all of that means.
Okay.
I've done some research over the years, but they are a home rule city, and they were able to put a 3% hotel motel tax on top of the counties just in the City of Clinton.
5%. So if you live,
Yes.
say, in the city of Clinton, you pay 8%.
Yes.
Okay.
Or if you visit a hotel in the city
Yes.
of Clinton, or a lodging campground, anything like that, you would be paying 8%. 5 would go to the county, 3% would go to the city.
Gotcha.
They could have done 5% at that point,
Sure.
but they only chose to do 3.
Gotcha.
So then several years later, when Windrock became so popular, the city of Oliver Springs went to the state and got an exception to the law that allowed them to pay 5% on top of Anderson County.
Yeah.
So in the city of Oliver Springs, the tax was 10%,
Gotcha.
5% to the county, 5% to the city. Well, so 2021, the general attorney basically said all of these exceptions in the law were unconstitutional.
Okay.
You can't have a constitution and then have exceptions to it. So they were and you were and they weren't across the board.
One had it this way, one had
They
it
were
that way.
handpicking, like,
Yeah.
this city, and they were written to say a city with the census of 2000 that has a population of 5,000 to 6,000 had this exception.
Gotcha.
And so that's how they defined them. And so basically they ruled every one of those unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to rewrite the law at that point. And so the law at that point said basically everything was grandfathered in. Anything that had been done was grandfathered in.
Gotcha.
But if you wanted to change it moving forward, you would have to repeal whatever structure you had in place, which with the county, we had a private act.
Gotcha.
You would have to repeal that and issue a resolution. So private acts, to pass a private act, the county has to pass it. It has to go to the state. They have to pass it. It has to come back to the county, and they have to pass it again.
And it has to be like a 2/3 vote in the county, too. It's more than just a majority rule.
It does. So, and we have a lot of things. I mean, that's how our county operates, is off private acts. So they wrote the new law to allow for resolutions so that it doesn't have to go to the state. The state's like, we're done dealing with this. You set your tax rate. Here's the limit. You do it by resolution, you're done. But they wrote the law to say that each county or municipality can only do 4%. So if you repealed what you did, then you can put in a new one at 4%. Okay. So
you can leave it pat and it stays the same, but if you change it, you're going to be 4%.
You're at 4%.
Gotcha.
Well, then they came along this year in the session and enacted a new law that says if you're going to have a county and a city tax, then the total can only be 8.
Gotcha.
Okay. So Anderson County did not do anything in 2021. We just kind of let it sit.
Yeah.
But if we were going to do anything, then we would have had to done it by April or by May 1st.
Gotcha.
So if we had wanted to change it at that point, we would only be able to do 3% across the board.
Gotcha.
Which would not have increased our tax period. So what has basically happened now is it's 4% across the county.
For Anderson County.
For Anderson County.
Gotcha.
The cities that had theirs in place before will stay in place. Nothing's changed there.
Unless they choose to redo their whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So, and the law also says, this was not in there before, the private act designated where the money was spent, and it was different across the state. Everybody designated their money different. The law says it has to be used for tourism promotion and tourism development, which Anderson County was
We
doing.
always did that.
We always done it.
Yeah.
And I commend commission, these usage taxes, just like gas tax, that is used on the roads.
Yeah.
So these are usage taxes, and they should be used for what they're taken from.
Yeah.
So hotel motel tax is paid by the visitor and used by the county. Anderson County's always done it to promote the county to more visitors, and for economic, development.
I was going to say, do they have some wiggle room where they can better their attractions and
Yes.
you know what I mean, to more
Yes.
widely invite people?
Yes.
That's
So
good.
basically, it's for tourism promotion and tourism development, and is defined as, an attraction or a facility like a park that is going to be used by tourists.
Okay.
So, and with county money, it has to be spent on public land, or, like you can contract with TVA, or you can contract with Corps of Engineers. We don't have Corps of Engineers in Anderson County, but you can contract with a government agency and
Develop a
improve
park,
facilities
improve-
on their property, or a nonprofit. The county can give money to a nonprofit. Like I said, a lot of our museums are nonprofits. A lot of our facilities are nonprofits. So backing up, or going back to the tax. So that now means that if you stay in a hotel in any city except for Clinton, the tax is 9%. 5% to the existing city that had it, and
4 to the county.
and 4 to the county. Now, I'll take that back, because Norris also put in a tax after 2021. So it is 8% in the city of Norris, and it'll be 7% in the city of Clinton.
Total. Okay.
Total.
So
anything outside of a city will now be at 4.
So we
if you're
lowered
in Anderson
ours.
County Park, you're at 4%.
Yeah.
If you're,
At
if
Clinton,
you're a short-term rental out in the unincorporated area of Andersonville, you're at 4%.
sure. And that's 1 penny cheaper than it was.
1% cheaper.
Yeah,
Mhm.
1% cheaper than it was
Than
before.
it was.
Okay.
But overall, it will be a gain in revenue for the county. And again, it
And
has
the
to be used.
municipalities.
Yes, it has to, for Anderson County.
Does the county reap any benefit off the municipality's collection outside of just what the municipality does to better itself?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm
It
not
doesn't
sure if I'm
come to-
answering your question or if I'm understanding your question, but basically, the cities will still receive their funds, and
Yes.
they'll allocate them however they've been allocated. The county will receive 4% across the county.
I guess what I'm saying is, Clinton doesn't have a director of tourism, so they're collecting tourism dollars that they have to use to better tourism. So does the city of Clinton decide what they do with that, or
Yes.
does that flow into our
Nope.
county?
That's the
director
city of
tourism?
Clinton.
So-
Oak Ridge they decide what they do with their money. Rocky
Okay.
Top decides what they do with their money.
But
Oliver
it has to be
Springs,
now
Norris.
used to attract, invite, or better.
No, not in the cities,
Oh.
because they already had it in place, and whatever they had in place stays in place.
Gotcha.
Yes, but now the counties with the 4%, our private act is void,
Yeah.
and now we follow the law.
So really, unless people shake up what they do, it's going to stay mostly the same, except we reduced ours 4 cents, and the state put a cap on what the municipalities could tack on top of it. So it's a total of 8, no matter where you're
And
at.
it doesn't. I mean, like the city of Norris, they were already capped at 4
Yeah.
because one entity, a city or a county, can do 4.
Gotcha.
Jointly, they can do 8.
Gotcha.
So we're capped in Norris. They're at 8%. The city of Clinton can go up a percent if they wanted to, but that's basically it. Norris is capped. Rocky Top is capped. Oak Ridge is capped, and Oliver Springs is capped with their 5%.
And really, nobody ever allocates for higher taxes, but really and truthfully, there is not a burden to the resident.
No.
if the city goes up to collect that extra 1 cent. Again, somebody's going to holler at me, Ron, you're talking about raising taxes.
No.
But it's me and you have talked about this before. It's free money.
Right.
You know, they come in, they spend their money, and they go home.
Right. Well, and if you, I mean, somebody even said, well, if you stay in a hotel in Clinton, as a resident stays in the hotel in Clinton. But most of our hotels have a policy
they
that
won't take residents.
They won't. Yes,
unless
it's an emergency situation like a broken water pipe or something like that. But because of some of the issues with drugs and trafficking, if you're an Anderson County resident, you cannot stay.
Well,
in
I think
Anderson
I told
County
you
hotel.
about that here some time back. There was a young man at the Rocky Top, and he, for lack of a better word, had fallen on hard times and needed someplace to stay. So I was just going to rent him a hotel room. You know what I mean? Pick up the phone and call. I was going to do it on the phone and send him down there. And they were like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
And that completely took me by surprise when I called the interstate and then Oak Ridge. And that's at that time, I don't think me or you either one was aware of that till now.
Well, they've had a big problem with trying to evict them.
Yeah, once they get in. Yeah. So that's but outside of just a dire emergency, there's no cost to the resident unless you have to go there and stay for, while something's going on bad at your house. So.
Okay. And it is, I mean, that's what Knox County's rate is. So it's not that we're at a disadvantage, a competition rate.
I will tell you this. We went to Charlotte just a couple of weeks ago. Took James David, he's a big basketball fan, took him up there to see the Charlotte Hornets versus the Grizzlies.
Yes.
And it's much more expensive. And it seems like everywhere we go, it's like 13%, 12% total. You know what I mean? It's pretty substantial.
Well, a lot of our surrounding states have a lower sales tax, but they have since raised their hotel motel tax above ours. So it kind of balances out. Yeah. Because I can remember when I traveled, I was like, wow, I'm paying a little bit less than I would, in Tennessee. But it's and that's one thing that is not exempt. I mean, as a county employee, when I travel, we are exempt from sales tax when we travel inside the state of Tennessee, but we're never exempt from hotel motel tax. So that's something that, if you're exempt, if you're staying somewhere on a government rate or exempt from sales tax, you're not exempt from.
You're talking about at your lodging.
Yes, you're not exempt.
Not just going out to the Walmart.
No. So, but you're not. But the county is exempt from sales tax when you're purchasing products or if you're using them
for the municipality.
Exactly. So, but yes. So you're not exempt from hotel.
Really and truthfully, at the end of the day, it's not going to have that much of an impact on you guys, is it?
There may be some impact as far as groups coming in that pay a little bit more attention to the rate and to the sales tax that's attached to it.
As our tourism department.
No, we're basically going to see an increase in income, and that'll be more funds that we're able to turn around and invest back into. Basically, the resident will benefit because when we make improvements to some of these facilities, they're going to be able to take advantage of them too. That's cool. When you're looking at improving some of our parks, some of our access to rivers, that's one of the things that we did at Anderson County Park with some of our tourism funds matched with grant funds. We've expanded the ramp. We increased the size of the campground, just different things like that paved the parking lot, which a lot of people, that doesn't sound glamorous.
It's pretty big if you're out there and so 5 or 8 cars are going through at the same time. It's pretty big because it rolls dust everywhere. So
exactly. So, and we're able to get more people into the parking lot because there's defined spaces. Yes. So before people would park haphazardly, and then you would get there and they'd be like, there's no spots, and these people are parked because they've given themselves a
3 space
3 foot space in between each vehicle. So those are little things that, again, they're not really glamorous, but there are things that the resident benefits from.
Let me ask you, are there things in tourism that you guys have plans, goals that you want to address, things that, as we go forward in the future, you'd like to tweak this, do that?
I don't know that we have anything just confirmed at this point, but I know that there's a lot of projects along the river. As far as access points go, there's a lot of opportunity there. Gibbs Ferry, the Bull Run. There's also the one that's across from Gibbs Ferry. the name of it slips my mind at this point, but it's
on the other side of the river.
Yes, it's just kind of like diagonally across from it. I know that the mayor and the conservation board have been working on that area. Also, I know the city of Clinton, and that's another thing. I mean, we can partner with the cities and work on some of these projects.
Sure.
So
if they had something they wanted to do to their boat ramp,
the rowing course, or the boat ramp, or a park that that needs.
Isn't the city putting in some? They're putting in some docking over by the dog park.
Yes,
so that'll help that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
that'd be cool. Absolutely. Is that going to be non-motorized docking, or do you know?
Yes, it'll be for kayaks and canoes. I think like a launch.
It's just amazing. I've been here for 37 years, and driving down Melton Hill on a weekend, and I was, you go slow anyway, but I was going super duper slow just because I wanted to try and read all the different schools. There were universities I've never heard of, the University of St. Joseph or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
And I bet there were 200, different.
I like to drive through the parking lots of the hotels and see all the license plates. But when the buses are there, it's obviously, you can obviously see them. I think Commissioner Isabel sent me a picture one day of a bus up at the Hampton, just parked right out there in front. And I think it was Michigan.
Well, I saw Dartmouth. I was thinking to myself, I wonder if moms and dads drive down, but they do. Their son or daughter, just like us with band or whatever traveling. So that's huge revenue.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got 3,000 people that come and participate in the event, and then you can pretty much bank that you're going to get.
And those are actually collegiate events, right? They stage this, and then colleges come and participate in this collegiate event. That's cool.
Yes.
Pretty neat. Anything else that you've got this morning that you want to tell folks about?
Nothing I can think of. And if I've missed something, please send me an email. Anyone out there that organizes events, please send me an email so that we can be sure to get them on our calendar. And we promote them out on Facebook and a lot of different places. So.
And I do the same thing. I will get them to send them to me, and then if you don't have them, I'll send them to you, or I glean them off your site if I don't have them. So
it's funny. I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years, and somebody said something the other day, asked me a question. They're like, "Now, what do you do? We don't know what you do." And I said, "Well, you're not really supposed to know what I do. You live here." So a lot of what we do is reaching out to those people that are living, 50 miles or more away from us is what a tourist is defined as. So, those are the kind of people that we're talking to and trying to attract them to our area. So
when we're here too, we're mostly talking to folks that live here. I mean, there's a few folks that are listening to us online, 117 right now, that are listening to us online, I'm sure, that aren't right here in the general area. But for the most part, I like to remind people of the things that we have to do here. There's a lot of folks too, they're like, especially during COVID, and coming out of COVID, where folks didn't have a whole lot of cash, and there's lots of stuff we had to do here and outside, that you could still do.
A lot of free and expensive things to do right here, and a lot of events, like I said, a lot of these events get their money off of the vendor booths and the people that are.
Which, like the Antique Festival, it doesn't cost a thing to go to the Antique Festival.
Nope, not done.
So
that brings a lot of money to this community through sales tax and through, just money that the organization raises.
That's one of my fondest memories. Is my boys used to always like to go to the fall Antique Festival because they wanted to Christmas shop, and they liked going through that. You know what I mean? That they just like to do that. I don't know where it came from or what, but that's what they would do. They would go and they would buy whatever trinket that they wanted. So that's we used to do that every year. We did that every year for a number of years when they were small, and got a little older, and they grew out of it, but still. All right. Thanks for coming in. And again, every month, I appreciate you coming in. And I know we talk a lot. We talk a lot about the same events, but I just want folks to know what all we've got going on. And then it's like this new way the tax has changed around. I'm glad you explained that, because I was a little confused.
Well, it's confusing because of stacking and this. You can do this and you can
do that. End of the day, though, our county we're gonna be flat or better.
Yes.
And then the other municipalities can add on 4 cents if they can be 4 cents, or they can stay where they're at.
Yes. Yep.
So. It sounds like it took a piece of red tape out of it, having to go to the state and come back when you wanted to change and everything else, which gives us a little more control over it. That's always better.
Yes.
Great. Stephanie Wells, our Director of Tourism. If you guys want to find out anything else about what's going on, adventureanderson.com. See, I finally got it.
Yes, there you go. You can still find us by y'allcome.org.
Yes, it's still there, but adventureanderson.com. And if there's any questions about anything we've talked about today, you can call me or you can go to that website. And a lot of the stuff, not all of the things we've talked about, but many of the things we've talked about is on our website. And I think I've got a link to your website on ours on there somewhere. If not, I'll make sure that we do. Anything else?
I think that's all.
Thank you, Miss Stephanie.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
We'll see you next month on your regular
Sounds
time.
good.
I went and wrote down your name on all the days after
Good.
that, just so you know. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.
Everything's bigger in Texas, including the racing action.
Now one car in the wall. It's Christopher Bell. Hits it hard. Everybody else scrambles to avoid. Now another collision. Turn number 2. It is Josh Berry. He gets sideways, slides up against the outside wall. McDowell loses it. Big time. The field coming right at him. McDowell tries to hold on to the race car. Everybody scrambles to get out of the way.
It's the Worth 400 from Texas Motor Speedway. Sunday, May 4th at 2:30.
Thank you for listening to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Make sure you tune in at 10 a.m. each day, Monday through Friday, right here on AM 1380 WYSH and BBB TV 12. Or listen live online at WYSHradio.com. And remember, if you have a question,